K-Wave 6 Radio and our host Kirk Spencer welcome you to our show bringing positive messages to today's world. And now, here's Kirk.
Hello and welcome to K-Wave 6 Radio. Today my guest is I'm going to say a dance teacher, exercise specialist, and she has a very interesting story to tell. We're going to be doing a series for probably the next month, not every week, but she was the most interesting one to talk about. She's working not at a job, but she is doing what she enjoys to earn money, which in itself is, by most people, or most people that are entrepreneurs will tell you have to love what you're doing or you're setting yourself up to fail. So Nicole LaBonde is my first guest, and I really wanted her to be my first guest because when I read her information, she just seemed to be so informative and so kind and so on and so forth. But she has a story that I want her to tell. Now let me introduce you to my guest for today, Nicole LaBonde. She is the dance instructor, exercise specialist, etc. Hi, Nicole. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, well, it is
nice to be considered interesting, and I like that. I was the most interesting one. That's nice.
You are the most interesting one, and I think so far you're still the one, but it is just how you wrote in your bio about who you are, what you are, and this is the whole idea of doing these shows, this series of shows, is people who enjoy doing what they're doing, which makes it a joy to learn from them. In your case, since you're teaching dance and basically aerobics and whatnot, you have your own style, which you're calling, what is it again?
Cabaret.
There you go. So explain to us what cabaret is.
Okay. So cabaret is actually a class. It's a dance fitness class that is half bar. Bar workouts are really, really popular right now because who doesn't want to have a ballerina body? Of course, everyone wants to have a ballerina body, with that long, lean, muscular look. So bar classes are really popular. And when I started taking bar classes, I'm a former professional dancer and choreographer, and I thought, I'll take bar class. That sounds great. And I started taking bar class, and I went, I don't know what this is. It was very much a fitness class that had, for the most part, very little resemblance to ballet. The only resemblance that there was that there was a bar on the wall, and they called some things pliés. And I was like, this is not anything that I recognize. And I was really sort of upset because I thought, well, there's a reason that ballerinas have been doing the same exercises for hundreds of years. They clearly work. We haven't changed the method of the bar work in literally hundreds of years. It's been the same formula of exercises. Ballerinas are still doing them every single day. So there must be a reason that the bar work is like that, and I wasn't sure why they felt the need to mess with the formula. So I decided that I would make my own class, and the purpose of bar work is not just to remain at the bar or to remain stationary. The purpose of the bar work is actually to get your muscles warm and to get your body prepared for dancing, for moving, for having a much more energetic life, not just staying in one place, which a lot of the bar classes do have you either at the bar or on a mat, and that's it. So I decided that my class was going to be very different. It was going to stick to the formula of the bar work, even though it would definitely have a fitness twist to it. It wouldn't be a straight ballet class, but it was going to stick to that formula, and then it was going to get people ready to dance. So the first half of the class is the bar work, and we really work on toning, especially thighs and booty, which are great target areas for most women. And then the second half of the class is dancing, and we do a cardio burlesque dance.
Okay, you got to explain
Very
cardio.
Fun, very sassy, very fun.
You got to explain cardio and burlesque. How do you put the two of them together?
So we don't stop moving. So your heart rate is going up, you're exercising, you're sweating, but the style of dance is definitely a burlesque style. It's a little sassy. We don't always have a striptease. Sometimes we do. Depends on my class. But it's always a little sassy, a little bit of shoulder rolling, a little bit of hip rolling, all that.
Yeah, so it's not too much like belly dancing, but I get the idea, I think. So, tell me something. Now, you said in the beginning that you are a former this and you're a former that. And let me ask you this, just to start with. Were you always interested in dance?
I was. But actually where I grew up, there was not a lot of dance available. And I definitely grew up in a small, rural, blue-collar kind of town and family. So there was not a lot of dance available within driving distance. So I actually would take books out of the library and try to learn out of the books in the library and old movies. And then finally, when I was actually in middle school, is when I took my first dance class, which for a dancer is incredibly late to start.
Yeah, true enough. So, basically, what part of the country did you grow up in?
I grew up in western Pennsylvania, about 2 hours from Pittsburgh, 2 hours from Erie, 2 hours from Cleveland, 2 hours from State College. So kind of in the middle of nothing.
I was going to say, in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere, very country, very rural, very beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So you went for your desire for dance. And tell us about your dance experience professionally.
So I went to Eastern University, which is outside of Philadelphia. I didn't leave the state, but it definitely was a culture shock. It might well have been another state from where I grew up. And I got a degree in dance from Eastern, and then I stayed in Philly, and I danced with a couple different modern companies and by myself. I have a friend who actually is still producing every month a showcase, and I was a regular in his productions, and he's still doing it there in Philly. And after I finished college and I was dancing, I really wanted to get into fitness. Mm-hmm. I felt like that would be, a nice complementary job. So I started, teaching some dance aerobics classes, and I started running, and running ended up wrecking my back because of my scoliosis and other physical issues. So I ended up in a lot of pain, and I heard that Pilates was really good for back pain. And I had a passing acquaintance with Pilates from my dance teachers and using it in warm-ups and things like that. But I hadn't seen any of the equipment or done any of that work. So I found the best Pilates teacher in Philadelphia, and she's still there, and she's still teaching, and her name is Bree Neff. And she studied with Romana Krzyzewska, who was Mr. Pilates' chosen protege. He selected her to carry on his work, and she worked with him in his studio, and she was the one who was basically allowed to teach alongside him. Mm-hmm. And Bree had studied with her, so I decided if I was going to train in Pilates, I was going to go with the best. And I did, and I became a Pilates instructor, which sort of started pulling me into the fitness world alongside the dance.
Very interesting how life actually makes changes, and if you go with the flow, things continue to work out for you. I'm just finding this to be very interesting. But Let me back up just a little bit before we get into the Pilates and other things. You loved to dance as a child, and you went and got your degree in dance from a university. And you more than likely knew that the professional side of dance is very limited to age, just like anything else is related to sports. If you're in baseball, football, basketball, whatever sport, you can only go up to basically 40 years old, give or take, before your professional life pretty much kind of either peaks out or falls, depending on how good you are. So tell me about, or tell us about your love for dance and knowing this and still going into it anyway.
My parents thought it was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I realized very early in the process that most dancers who are professional dancers aren't even going to go to college, at least not in the sort of traditional order that we think of, that high school and then college, that they might come back later. But for the most part, professional dancers have been in a company school since they were very young, and they have been training, and they've been put in a company really, at age 18. So for the most part, professional dancers are not even going to go to college. So the dance degree was definitely not with the sights on performance. But I was really thinking along the lines of dance education. I love teaching. I still love teaching. It's what I do. I really think that is my gift, is the ability to teach and communicate with others and help them to understand not just the movement, but understand their own bodies better. And I really love teaching, and I love creating. And there is a lot of opportunity for that wherever you are, particularly if you're willing to work with children. Children's dance classes are always in demand. But then if you're willing to create, to be a choreographer, to self-produce and, take a chance on your own work, there's opportunities for that as well. With Kickstarter and all of that, we don't have to sit around and wait to be chosen anymore. We can pick ourselves, as Seth Godin says.
Okay. Well, Nicole, I'm going to ask you, hold on just a moment. We're going to take our break. So everyone, Please stay with us as we take our break, and we'll be right back with my guest for today, Nicole LaBonde, dance instructor, exercise instructor, teacher. We'll find out what else in a little bit. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to put an end to thinking about how you wish it were and take action? Take this step to find out more by going to coachingbyria.com, and you can receive your free consultation session with Coach Ria. Coach Ria is a certified professional life coach with a passion to help make the difference in the world.
Hello, this is Chad C. Meek, executive producer of Giant Rock the Movie, the greatest UFO story never told. You're listening to K-Wave 6 radio show with the illustrious Kirk Spencer, who just might be as crazy as me.
Hi, and welcome back. Our guest today is Nicole LaBonde. As I said before the break, dance instructor, teacher, exercise maven, because she's learning how to combine a lot of stuff. She has her own exercise formula, if you want to call it that, called Cabarret. And we'll tell you a little bit about the website at the end of the show. But yeah, she's going to continue on with the education part of her life. So you said you wanted to be more of a teacher instead of a performer. So
Yeah.
enlighten us a little bit more about that.
When I went to college, I actually was originally a music major and a dance minor. I was a music major in piano, and I had been teaching piano lessons. That was my high school job, teaching piano lessons to little kids. And I honestly thought that's what I was going to do. I was going to teach some piano lessons, teach some dance classes, and that would be sort of my life. I would make a living, teaching the things that I enjoyed. At this point in my life, almost 10 years after graduating from college, that year that I graduated from college was about the last time I played the piano.
Oh, God.
But I've been dancing ever since, and I've had, some amazing opportunities to, dance in different states, in different productions, to produce my own work, to be with other people. So it's funny how that all works out. I went there for one thing and ended up coming out with something else entirely.
Let me move us slightly away from your dance into just something you just brought up. And if you don't, this is impromptu, so let's see if you can follow along with the train of thought. There's something that I oftentimes tell people, and I may have done this on the shows a couple of times, but talking about getting out of your own way from time to time and just letting life, or excuse me, not letting life, but participating in life. What comes your way, and go, ooh, that's new, that's different, and go with it and finding out it's basically, if you want to put it this way, the universe is just going, go in this direction. You'll like it a lot better.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
And that's definitely very much what happened to me is, my piano professor ended up being very, very ill at the end of his time with me. And so it made my senior year as a music major very, very difficult. And so I really threw myself into the dance program and found out that I could graduate with a dance degree if I took like one more class. I rearranged my whole life to kind of make that happen. And I do believe that the right opportunities often present themselves to us, but you have to be willing to either make the hustle, make the sacrifice, make the work to take advantage of them. And it's very rare that the right opportunity is given on a silver platter. Very often the right opportunity comes disguised as change your life for this.
Very true. Very true. I'm beginning to think that you're a lot older than what you've told me you are.
Nope.
You're speaking from...
And I still get carded, so I like that a lot.
Reminds me of my days when I used to be a bouncer. But anyway. But anyhow. Yeah. Now, you speak with a lot of experience or wisdom or a combination of both, which pretty much was what wisdom is anyway. But the other things that we were talking about is, well, how you went from, well, actually, no, let's back up. Let's go right back into, tell us about your desire for dance and some of the key points in your life that really helped you to continue to go into that, and then how you got into exercise. I know you covered a little bit of exercise before, but if you can elaborate a little bit more on those.
So once I took my first official dance class, of course, I was hooked. And even as I got into high school, as I mentioned before, my family was not really able to afford a lot of classes, and we were certainly expected to work for it. So my piano lesson teaching often helped pay for my dance costumes, or if I wanted to compete, then I had to help pay for that because it was extra class and it was extra driving and all of that. So I was certainly expected to contribute, and that if my desire was that strong, I had to put my money where my mouth was, and I did. So I think from a very early start for me with dance, it was something that I had a stake in. It It was something that I had to invest not just my time and my abilities to, but my money and really my choices had to go to that as well. And when the last bit of my junior year and all of my senior year in college became very difficult with the music department, I found that the dance department was really where I felt safe, where I felt good about me, about the work that I was doing. And even in my life since then, I have to say that all of my very good friends have been dance people. I moved to Florida just over 2 years ago, and it's very difficult when you're an adult to move to a new city where you don't know anyone and to make friends, especially when you work for yourself, because you don't have that sort of built-in community of school or an office where you sort of have forced friends. You have to do it on your own. So I'm very glad to have found a place where I can dance and have girlfriends that have that in common with me, but also it seems to me that the dancer people have sort of the same point of view on life. One of my professors would always say that if you wanted something done right away, give it to a dancer. Mm-hmm. They know time management, especially like in college or in high juggling your classes.
Yeah.
With your performances, with your homework, with your job, and even now I'm doing much the same thing. I'm teaching private lessons. I'm teaching group classes. I have a boyfriend. I have a dance troupe that I started. So we have rehearsals usually at like 10 o'clock at night, 10 to midnight, because that's the time we can all get together. Yeah. Plus I'm trying to build a business, so we've all learned to manage our time very, very well.
Understandable. But let me back you up just again. That was part of the thing I was going to ask you next, and we're going to ask you now, is okay. As opposed to pretty much would say the average person. Average person just meaning, okay, somebody who went to school to become a doctor, wanted to go into business or wanted to go into law, whatever the case may be. It's not like going to school for any one of these vocations and you become a doctor and you go to a hospital. You get picked by a hospital. And you can go do that. You get your experience, and then you go into a private practice, which you can do for the rest of your life, pretty much. Okay, or you go to work for a corporation, and you have a place to go to work. They give you an office and a desk, and you go to work and you do your thing. You have that security built into that kind of a work style. Yeah. If you're going in for medicine or for business, law, whatever the case may be, picked up by a law firm and all that kind of good stuff. So to work with dancing, there aren't, as you say, there aren't that many dance companies, dance troupes around. So with all that in mind, I'm still working on the idea of you chose something that evidently you learned this isn't going to find a 9-to-5 job.
Right.
So there isn't that built-in security. So for our listeners, explain that mentality of saying, I still want to become a dancer, even though I know it's not going to be a 9-to-5 job, and I'm still going to be happy with it.
I think you have to say those things to yourself. So it's not going to be the norm, and I'm going to be happy with it. And if you're not going to be happy with it, you can't do it. When I was in a theater company in Philadelphia, my last 2 years there, I worked for a theater as their choreographer and as an actor in their company. And the general manager of the company, when new people would come in, we often had college interns and things like that. We always called it the dream killer speech. There we go. Here comes the dream killer. But the dream killer speech was basically, if there is anything else you see yourself as happy doing, you should do that. Because it's not an easy life, and it's not a conventional life by any means. And this has to bring you the most joy, and you have to expect the oddities. And if you can see yourself doing anything else and being just as happy, you should go do that. Because this craziness is not for you. If you can be just as happy sitting in a cube, you should go do that.
You just blew it when you said that. I've worked in a cubicle. That was not fun.
But there are some people, and there was a time in my life where I was content with that. You know, it gave me the 9-to-5 security, and then I taught dance on the weekends. But once I got into Pilates and I was teaching more, and I really found my passion in teaching, I was really fully experienced when I got to fitness. Like, I love teaching dance to little kids. It was fun. But once I started teaching fitness and teaching adults, I found the really deep passion for teaching, and that's when I was no longer content with that cubicle job.
Mm-hmm. People, I hope you're listening to this. This is what this whole idea of doing these shows about, people that are doing things that they enjoy doing. It's not saying this is going to be for you. I'm not going to say that there are other people out there, a burgeoning amount of people that are out there going, I want to be a dancer, and man, I should have done this one. No. It's about your passion, what you want to do, and the things that you may have to do to get to be where you want to be. And also, as Nicole said a little bit earlier, it's just following the path that's laid out in front of you. Sometimes it's not handed to you, as Nicole said, on a silver platter. It's just, hey, go this way. It's a better way.
Yeah.
And you have to be astute enough to hear that. Before we take our next break, Nicole, tell us about your move to, as you said before, Miami.
Oh, that was an interesting time. I actually was living in Philadelphia, and I felt personally that I needed to get out of there, and both and professionally as well. I felt that I had sort of gone as far as I could go where I was, and I needed a change. So I was looking for open positions, and I found the Miami Children's Theater was looking for a director of dance, full-time position, salaried position, and I thought, holy heck, that's a thing. A salaried position at a theater doing dance, craziness. So I applied, and I got the job. So I moved to Miami about a month after I was offered the job to start working. But about 8 months into my contract with them, I was relieved of my duties due to a lack of funds for the entire company, as many arts organizations are. Heavy on the art, light on the organization. So there were monetary difficulties. So that quickly became a growing personal time.
Yeah.
To be in a new city without a job.
Uh-huh. So tell us, how did you manage to get back up on your feet?
Well, I had the idea for Cabaret. That was when I moved here, and I was looking for a place. Dancers were my people. And when I started taking the bar classes and things like that, and I just wasn't finding what I felt like I needed and wanted, I came up with the idea for Cabaret, but I hadn't really done anything with it. So when I had no job, I thought, well, this is apparently the time to do something with that. So I took a week away and really worked on music and choreography and got myself a couple of classes set together, and then started going around to gyms and pitching it and emailing and cold calling and finding some places to teach.
Now, good place to stop right there. We're going to take another break, and we'll be right back with my guest, Nicole LaBonde. Be right back. Stay with us.
Do you need a website or a webmaster for your business or hobby? A wordsmith for a research project or for a script, an article, or even a language translator? Do you need an audio or visual project created or edited? Contact K-Wave 6 Productions at www.kwave6productions.tk for all of your website, writing, and audio and visual needs. Our rates are competitive and our services are excellent. That's K-Wave 6 Productions at www.kwave6productions.tk or email us at info@kwave6productions.tk.
Hi, this is Amy Young of JSJ Phone. We are providers of junior iPhone, iPad, iPod, also Samsung, Sony, Nokia parts and accessories at very good quality and low prices. We sell to individuals and companies, have 3 to 5 days delivery time by DHL or UPS. We do delivery in 24 hours after payment confirmed. For more information, see our website www.jsjphone.com www.jsjphone.com. Contact me, Amy Young, mailbox emy@jsjphone.com or by phone 0086 13418696395, by Skype emy.yang2012.
Hi, and thanks for staying with us. Before the break, Nicole and I were talking about how she got into teaching and how an unfortunate event turns into be a fortunate event for her. So in other words, not letting the failure of income ruin her life and send her back to Pennsylvania with her tail between her legs, going, "Oh, it didn't work out," and whatnot. Not that even crossed her mind. Did that cross your mind?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Every day for a good year.
Okay. But you didn't let the defeat, or shall we say I shouldn't say defeat, because it's not a defeat. You didn't let a setback, a part of your life that is essential to your life, defeat you. There you go. Yeah. So you actually took that and said, well, evidently you had some money saved up. So you went and decided to not turn around, but to turn a corner and go, ooh, look, another adventure. Tell us about the adventure.
Well, I was fairly determined not to go back to Pennsylvania. I mean, if you've ever been to Miami, you have to think, gosh, if I could make a living here, why would I make one anywhere else? To basically live in paradise most of the time. It's gorgeous, it's warm, there are palm trees. I spent 30 years in snow. I was kind of over it. I was ready for something else. So I was fairly determined to not go back and to do what I had to do to make it work. And thankfully I had skills to fall back on, like teaching fitness and teaching dance. And as I mentioned before, children's dance classes are everywhere and often in demand. So I was able to get a job teaching some children's dance classes in addition to, pitching my own cabaret classes. And then Pilates is very popular pretty much everywhere, and I could find a job teaching Pilates. So I've pieced together a life. I wish I could say that all of my classes were simply cabaret classes and it was, a gigantic brand bigger than Zumba. But it's not.
At least not yet.
At least not yet. Yeah, I have that hope.
Yeah, there you go.
But I am still doing what I love. I am absolutely making a living teaching dance and fitness. That's what I'm doing. So that works for me.
Mm-hmm. No, we've gone from I have a desire, I'm going to do it, and I went to college, so you have a degree, so you can always fall back on your college degree if nothing else.
Right.
And you moved to Miami and enjoyed it for at least 7 to 8 months and found yourself, not gainfully employed, but took a negative and made a positive out of it. And you've come up with your own, if you will, brand or mark called Cabaret or Cabaret Fit. Mm-hmm. Explain to us in a little bit more detail, what is Cabaret Fit? What is it a combination of?
So cabaret is, as I mentioned before, it's the barre exercises and put with the burlesque. But what it really is from a fitness standpoint is getting all of your strength, your cardio, and your stretching in 1 hour. So it's a super effective workout. There are lots of classes that are just cardio, lots that are just strength, but to get all of them in one workout is the goal. But the idea of burlesque is not just the striptease, which is what a lot of people think of, but that burlesque is a celebration of the female form of women's bodies, and that there are very few women in this world that are comfortable with their body, let alone feel like celebrating it. Mm-hmm. So to me, that is the most important work that I do, that for an hour, these women feel good about what they're doing. They feel challenged but excited that they're participating in it. They feel sexy. They feel strong. They get sweaty and think it's fun. That for an hour, their bodies are an instrument of pure potentiality. We're only exploring the things that we can do, that we are, instead of we're constantly speaking negative to and worrying about.
I'm sorry, I was listening to you and I was taking notes because I have this tendency of just being very attentive to whoever's speaking. Excuse me. Actually, while I'm thinking about this, you were talking about I'm sorry, I have to refer back to your email. You were looking around for exercises, and I'm going to ask two things. First, you said you were looking into Pilates because of your back. And how did you put Pilates in with barre exercises and dance? Well,
Pilates and ballet actually have a lot in common because of the emphasis on posture and alignment. Mm-hmm. In both forms. So they actually have that in common. And then Joseph Pilates, when he moved to New York, actually worked with many of the dancers from George Balanchine's company when he was at City Ballet. Many of those dancers came over. That's actually how Ramana ended up at Mr. Pilates' studio, was because she danced for Mr. Balanchine and had hurt her ankle. And so she came to Mr. Pilates for rehabilitation. Mr. Pilates also worked with Martha Graham and Ted Shawn, who were pioneers of the modern dance movement. So the two are, for better or for worse, often together, often grouped together. I think it's better for dance. I think it's for the worse for Pilates. Pilates is seen as a girly thing when it was invented by a man for men originally. It's not a girly workout, but I think it's seen that way a lot because it's seen as being for dancers. Mm-hmm. But I always say that the dancing didn't really do much for my Pilates, but Pilates totally changed my dancing. I wish I had found Pilates a lot sooner. It could have changed some things. But
so
they both really work on that alignment and posture and using your core and your center to move your extremities properly.
So basically, I was going to ask this later, but I guess I'll ask it now. So basically, except for the burlesque movements, a man could take the class from you.
Yes. And I've had guys take it.
Ah.
And I just change up some of the choreography, and instead of making it, hips swivels, we do a little shoulder swag instead,
Huh. Interesting. So how was, you took up Pilates because you had injured back. So how is your back now?
Well, I have scoliosis, a fairly significant scoliosis in my back, which means that my spine has a curvature, right?
Uh-huh.
So the curvature is severe enough that it makes my hips sit crookedly. And that's what was causing a lot of pain as I was, running and doing aerobics and things like that, is because my hips were constantly shifting against my spine in a crooked manner, and my femurs were coming back up into my hips from my legs, imbalanced. So as long as I do my Pilates, I'm actually doing great. I really notice the difference when I don't do my Pilates.
Interesting. So now you mentioned the part I was starting to laugh about a little bit ago was in your email to me. You were telling me that you were looking into pole dancing, but that didn't work for you because it hurt your shoulders. Tell us about the pole dancing.
Pole dancing is big in Miami, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. You think about that and go, yeah, I could see that. But I did find that it required a ton of upper body strength, which I hadn't really counted on, and most women do not have a lot of upper body strength. And I found it to be really hard on my shoulders. I have pinched nerves in both shoulders, which is left over from my piano playing days.
How'd that happen?
Yeah, well, when you spend 4 to 6 hours sitting at a piano, terrible things happen to your posture. I should have had Pilates then, too. It would have been helpful. Every pianist should also do Pilates.
I guess that's why I didn't stick with piano when I was a kid.
Yeah, it can be tough on your back and shoulders.
Yeah.
So I found that pole dancing is actually really hard on my shoulders. And I also think that now that I'm actually teaching pole dancing myself, I now teach it twice a week. So clearly I've found a way to work around that. I actually have discovered that the teachers that I had when I started were not the best. They didn't take time to properly warm up their students or to really explain where the movement comes from and how you should be moving your body. And from my really extensive background in Pilates and dance, I'm able to do that in a way that keeps my students safe and confident and helps them gain the strength they need to get up the pole, spin around the pole, all that stuff without hurting themselves.
So I take it now your shoulders are doing fine.
They are.
Good. Okay. Let's take our last break here a little bit early, and we'll continue this with Nicole LaBonde, dancer, Pilates teacher. The list is just getting longer the more I talk to you. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Pat Kammer, author of Love's Voice Changes You, Book 1. And I now have Book 2, which is called Hello Awesome, Message from Spirit in Pat's Patters. Buy your book from Amazon.com.
Welcome back as we continue with my guest, Nicole LaBonde. As I was saying it before the end of the last break, let's see. She's a dance teacher. She's a Pilates teacher. She is a... Oh, God. Why don't you tell us the rest of it?
No, I always, when I introduce myself to someone or network and whatever, I always just say I'm a dance and fitness instructor.
There you go.
And I've created my own.
Uh-huh. Well, let me ask you this. On dance education, we know for kids, it teaches them movement, it teaches them, I want to go someplace else, but I don't want to get there and it's stuck right there in my head. So let's see. It teaches you movement, it teaches you exercise, it teaches you what else?
I always tell my parents that bring their kids in for creative movement, which is what we teach to 3 and 4-year-olds. We don't put 3 and 4-year-olds in ballet because that would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we call it creative movement. I always say this is a class that teaches life skills. We go over personal space versus group space. Learning where all your body parts are so you don't smash into your friends. Things like taking turns, following directions. It's like any other sort of structured, organized activity. Those life skills are really the more important thing than me teaching them first position and plie, which is really about all you get through with 3-year-olds for a year. They're really excited if they remember first position and plie. It's the life skills that are much more important. And getting some of those gross motor skills, a lot of parents encourage their young children to go straight to walking, and they don't spend a lot of what they call an early childhood education tummy time working on crawling and things like that. They want their kids to walk so the kids don't crawl, and crawling is actually super important for cross hemispheres in the brain. So getting more synapses to fire in the brain and better incorporation of your gross motor movements throughout your body when you learn at a young age things like crawling and skipping once you are walking. Those types of movements a lot of kids don't know how to do anymore.
Motor coordinations, between hand and foot. That's something I understand about just from being a martial arts instructor. So So let me ask you, because in martial arts, when we do teach this, especially for children and even into adulthood, it does give them, and this is the word, and it's actually a word, hyphenated word, self-confidence. How does that work within dance? Or what you're teaching?
Well, as I mentioned before, there are very few women I find in this world that feel comfortable with their body, let alone confident. So that is really what I see my job as being, and what is the most rewarding to me. It's not just that these women get physical results, but how excited they are about it. And not just about the physical results, but the fact that they did it. That there was something that they couldn't do before, didn't have before, and now they do simply to the work that they put in. Because cabaret, as I mentioned, barre and burlesque, we don't really use equipment. There's no Pilates reformer. There are no weights and dumbbells. Our only equipment is our occasional burlesque prop, like a chair or a boa. There's no treadmill. There's none of that. These are women working on their bodies. Simply that, having to really tune into their body and work with them. So I find that ability to listen to your body and learn to know your body so well is incredibly confidence giving. Many women, when they start, still have difficulty with coordinating. They say, oh, I'm not a dancer. I've never taken a dance class before. Everybody is a dancer. We just have to train you a little bit. It'll be okay. The right and left coordination, the balance, especially for some of my older women, balance stuff is an issue. But that ability to really tap into your own body is incredible, and it's great to watch them do that.
Yeah, I can hear the smile in some people's voices as you're teaching or you're talking about it now. Just feeling that confidence of, hey, I can do this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because we know that there have been professional football players and sports players of different backgrounds, football, basketball, you name it, that have even gone from being this great big linebacker to taking ballet. How do you see that, and have you taught anyone who is in sports, especially males, your exercise routines?
Yeah. Actually, the one Pilates studio where I work specializes in training professional athletes. So we have a lot of guys in for Pilates. As I mentioned before, Pilates was created by a man for men. Mm-hmm. It's gotten a bad rep as being for dancers. So they do that. And the way I introduce ballet to them often is to tell them it's good for their footwork. I just call it footwork. Mm-hmm. I say this is footwork. Yeah. and they appreciate it for that. And it's very difficult. You have to think that dance, ballet, and Pilates are all based on control. Mm-hmm. Sports are based on power. Mm-hmm. So it's a very different way of recruiting the muscles and of working your muscles. So even our guys who are in exceptional shape, Pilates or the quote-unquote footwork we give them to be incredibly difficult because it's a different way of moving their muscles. It's not that they're not in shape, it's that their muscles have never been asked to move in that slow, controlled fashion before. They're used to firing fast twitch instead of slow twitch, and we're getting them to work very differently.
Mm-hmm. Well, now that you mentioned, because I actually don't know anything about Pilates, tell me something about Pilates.
So Pilates is originally a rehabilitative, a corrective exercise. It's based on the idea that proper alignment of the spine supported by a strong, what Mr. Pilates called powerhouse, which is your abdominals, your back, your hips, and your glutes. That all helps support your spine. If your spine is properly aligned, supported by those strong muscles, everything in your body functions better. Your internal organs, your bodily movements, just reaching with your arms, stepping with your legs, everything functions better when you have an aligned and strong center.
Well, that makes sense, even from a martial arts point of view.
Absolutely. And Joseph Pilates invented Pilates about 100 years ago. It's been around for 100 years. And he incorporated a lot of principles of yoga, martial arts, and acrobatics and gymnastics with some exercise and fitness and resistance on springs. He took a lot of things that people are familiar with and changed them a little bit.
Sorry to make a stupid analogy, but it sounds like Bruce Lee with his version of martial arts, Jeet Kune Do. He took a little bit of boxing, he took a little bit of kung fu, and he took a little bit of this, and mixed it all together and came up with this basically killer art.
Cool.
Okay, you didn't know about that.
I did not.
Okay. So we're both learning something. This is good. Yeah, if you stop learning, you're dead. That's what I always tell people. So, yeah, it's good to learn. We only have a few minutes left, like about 4 minutes, give or take. Is there something that you would like to tell your audience? Because right now they're here to listen to you. So what would you like to tell your audience? Anything.
Sure. I think the most important thing that I tell all of my students is that, fitness is not an external result. Fitness is internal choices. And every day is a new day to make those choices and to get yourself more fit. Fitness is not an end. It is the journey. Mm-hmm. And I love being able to accompany people on that journey, to see them grow and strengthen and stretch, and really just watching them succeed when they can do something that they could never do before, could never think that they would have done before. Whether it's, my Pilates student that comes in and says, I could get down on the ground and play with my grandkids, and I had never done that before. Or it's one of my cabaret students that was like, oh, that was sexy. I felt really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to give people that ability to really enjoy their bodies and their everyday life because of my work with them is such a gift to me. It's a blessing to me. So that is really what I want to share with people is that, you know, fitness is your choice and it's your journey. And the reason it's so hard to stick to is we keep thinking of the end result. So let go of that result and enjoy the journey.
Indeed. Which is a good way to even live life.
Mm.
She's groaning. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you the corporate question.
Mm-hmm.
The corporate question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? No. Where do you see yourself in the future? I know that you're one who accepts that, hey, I can plan, but life happens, so I have to roll with life. But where do you want to be in your future, immediate future, distant future, and, well, very distant future?
Well, I just got Cabaret approved through ACE, which is the American Council on Exercise, as a group exercise class through them. So it is now available to be taught in YMCAs and fitness studios across the country with ACE credits and certification. So I have a teacher training program designed for that to teach other instructors how to teach. So that is sort of my big goal for the next year, to really get that going and to find Cabaret in more places than just Miami, being taught by people other than me. So that is my big goal for the future, and you know, then I'll be the next Zumba. But you know, that is really what I want, is to see Cabaret grow, not because Nicole is awesome, but because I think it's a really powerful workout, because it does incorporate strength, stretch, and cardio, as I mentioned before. I think it's a really great formula for a workout, and I think it is very empowering for women to learn to embrace their bodies and celebrate themselves and what they're capable of.
Mm-hmm. And you're going to be teaching this to your future instructors, mostly for women, but you're also going to incorporate it for men as well, yes? Yeah.
If a guy comes into class, he absolutely can stay, and there are ways to, you know, change the choreography to make that comfortable. And, you know, I do occasionally get guys in my barre class, and I've had a few come into the Cabaret class not knowing what it was, I think, usually. Not coming on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, but making it fit for them, because, you know, there are absolutely, you know, burlesque performers and ballet performers of the male gender, so there's no reason that it could not be for men. I think working with women just happens to be my particular skill set and passion.
Yeah. And just for the listeners, when I called Nicole a feminist, she actually says, I haven't been called that much, but thank you.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
She is very laid back. When we met just in our first call, she was, well, I guess she's still in the process of moving, but she was like harried a little bit, but harried for her. And what you hear now is very calm. She says, this is the way I normally am.
Yes.
Which was, it's like, is this the same person?
Yes. I am much more calm and zen. Well, I have learned, as you and I were talking about before, the drama stays on the stage. Drama in your life is no good. Drama stays on the stage.
Very true. So, as we're getting ready to close the show, as I always promised her and everybody in the future, is we're going to tell you how to find Nicole LaBonde. She does have a personal website, but we're going to, well, she can actually do this if she wants. She can give you a personal website, but we're going to talk about cabaretfit.com. There you go. So, you want to spell that out and tell us a little bit about that in the next minute?
It is CABARRETFIT. So it's Cabaret with 2 R's, like the ballet bar. Cabaretfit.com. And I have some cool free bar workouts over there. One is a video and one is a great pinnable image. So you can take advantage of some free workouts. Their class schedule is up. I also have links to some other videos that are available in my YouTube channel. There's actually a ton of workouts on my YouTube channel that aren't on the website, but it's Cabarret Fit as well on YouTube, so go check that out. And the teacher training information is there if you're listening to this and you go, I want to teach. Yeah, call me. We'll make it happen.
There you go.
And if you're in Miami, definitely get to class or book a pinup girl party. We do parties too.
Ooh. I'm going to leave that one for your website. Anyhow, Nicole, thank you very much for being here. It's definitely a pleasure having you on here, and I was not disappointed in what I found out from your email and from getting to talk with you. So anytime you want to come back, please do. Just let me know, and we'll take it from there. So everyone else, thank you for attending the show. Nicole, final last word?
Just, if you love what you're doing, do it.
There you go.
There's no other way to be happy.
Yes, very true. So thank you for being here in the show. Remember to check out Nicole's site, and we'll take it from there. Everyone, be well. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for being part of our audience. For more information about K-Wave 6 Radio and the services we offer, go to www.kwave6radio.tk. Have a wonderful day.